Well, hello, everybody. This is Eric Enga, and welcome to the New England Google Plus Meetup. Come on, everybody.
Yeah.
There we go. So we're in one of your windows here. This is our first attempt at a town meeting HOA. And we have a fabulous guest speaker with us today, Mr. Ronnie Bincer.
Wonderful, wonderful to be here, and I am so glad to be with New England as they say.
New England does, yes. Okay. A homeboy, so to speak, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Because people that were watching or are watching didn't see the initial part, I was mentioning that I did grow up in the New England area. I grew up in Brookline, which is a suburb of Boston. I used to, as a kid, put quarters and actually pennies on the T, on the train tracks. So when they go by, see how smushed it got. And then I moved to Walpole, which is known for the penitentiary. That's what everybody knows. Everybody in that area knows, of course. Were you spending time there? The answer is no. But and then I moved away, but I did spend a fair amount of my time growing up in the Boston area. So glad to be back.
Yay.
I'm glad to have you.
And I'm in Colorado now, just in case you weren't sure.
Excellent. So we were going to talk about some HOA stuff.
Yes. Hangouts on air.
That's what that means. Great.
Yeah. It's a live streaming broadcast that automatically turns into a video when you're done. And that's what this stuff is, and it's free from Google. We love it.
Yeah, it's free, and you're right, it turns into a video, and you have a certain amount of people who can participate in the film strip, where we only have, I can't say 2 people, because we have something like, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11,
You have 2 cameras.
17 people.
2 cameras, right.
At the moment. But only 2 film strip spots. So you get to have up to 10 film strip spots, and but then other people can watch, as we have now, people watching via YouTube. So that's great. That's a great thing. So
yeah, we even have the ability to let some of those other people that are watching bring their comments right onto the screen like this with certain tools.
Yep. Which is awesome. And for those of you here who can see it, that's this thing over here. It's the comment tracker. For those of you watching remotely, it's something that shows up on the right side of the Hangout window. Yes, I know I moved forward here. I really should have like a. Let's see if I can do it like this.
And just so you know, Eric, because there's only 2 cameras on in this particular one, there is no visible film strip for the people out there viewing us right now. So we can talk about it all day long, but they don't know where it is because they're not seeing it. Just a heads up on that.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Fair enough. So yes. Here we go. Let's see. Yeah, we already had the best. Well, here we have Wicked Cool. There we go. There's Ronnie.
Yeah, there.
Speaking the local lingo.
Yes.
So awesome. So Ronnie, we actually wanted to start by talking about some unusual uses of Hangouts on air. I think mostly because we just sort of wanted to stretch the imagination a little bit about it. Maybe we should spend a few minutes rounding out a definition of the basics, as we've already kind of started to do, and then we can go into some of the more novel uses, and then we can rein it back in a bit. How's that sound like for an agenda?
That sounds fine to me. Let's talk from basics here. When you're doing a Hangout inside Google+, there's at least 2 kinds that are involving video. One is called a private Hangout, which is what many people do, where you're just meeting one-on-one or up to 10 people in a room. And it's not recorded, it's not broadcast, it's just a video meeting room. Think Skype on steroids. And then there's the next kind, which is a magic button you press that says Start Broadcast. And then you can have this kind of a meeting that goes live, streaming live through the internet, literally worldwide. Anybody in the world can watch it live. And by the time it's done, it automatically, or what I like to say, automagically creates a YouTube video that then can live on. So you've got the ability to not only have a live interactive broadcast, but it also turns it into a video that you can then use later on for additional visibility to whatever you were showing or talking about. And as a basics, many people will do this in offices, so you basically see shoulder shot up. But it is possible to get further away with better cameras, and if we're starting to expand our reach here, you can actually take one of these, whoops, it's in my pocket, one of these things called a cell phone, and turn this thing into your camera, and you can start basically roaming the world and let this be one of the cameras that shows up inside the film strip. So you literally can have a remote reporter situation with up to 10 different or 9 different cameras with your cell phones from literally anywhere in the world. Pretty cool.
Yes. Yeah, it is very cool. So what we're doing right now for all of your benefit is we have a 55-inch monitor on the wall with a camera mounted on top. That's why we're all, looks like we're looking up, because the monitor is up high on the wall, and it's broadcasting down into a room here where you see Mark Traphagen skulking in the back. Well, now he's no longer skulking. I preferred it when he was skulking, actually, as opposed to what he's doing now. But in any case, so this is kind of a neat use. It's like that's why I keep referring it to as the town meeting HOA, right? Because we have this notion of now we have a whole bunch of people, instead of having just the people in the film strip that can ask questions of Ronnie in audio format. You know, you all can. At whatever point in time, you know, come up with a question. And those of you who are in via YouTube, you know, we'll still, you know, pop you in at the appropriate points in time if you've got questions. So we always like questions on our show.
Yeah, so this is somewhat of a unique use right here. There's just the ability to bring in someone from a different physical location to a group where you are all physically gathered there, and you can bring in a guest speaker to help. Let's say you were a brand and you're training people how to do something, and you got this wicked smart guy from another part of the world. That was a little Bostonian there. And he or she is available to show up without having to fly and deal with traffic, or taxis or hotels. They basically just show up. And they're visually there and able to interact live, which is pretty neat. And if you turn that into, like it will automatically, a video, you can let that become part of the content of whatever your company or your organization is utilizing.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why we, you know what, I turned on the draw tool, and it's like I was hoping to draw on you during the show here, Ronnie, but it was giving me that you weren't, it wasn't supported message, so I have to give,
I could try to draw on you if you want.
You could do that, but I'd be afraid of what you would draw. But
for those that have never done a Hangout, they have these things like for birthday cakes. Like I can blow that out. There, it's gone.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, just having fun.
Yes, and then we can.
You can put beards on, right?
There you go. And,
now I already have a beard, but let me point out something real important to this. There are some really cool tools here that let you do that, and many people think it's just silly, but ultimately what it does is it allows you to play with the tools, and you get used to the tools, and you get inside the environment. You kind of forget the fact that you're on camera, and that is part of the goal here, is to get you to feel comfortable inside the video room.
Yeah.
Now, Eric, I'm getting a little bit of extra feedback going on. Is there anything special that changed on your end?
Compressor.
Well, there's a compressor running somewhere nearby here, so the only thing I could do to...
You just muted yourself. Okay.
No.
That's fine. So, so there are certain tools that are built into the thing itself, the Hangout thing, that you can add onto it. Think of it like a website where you add in plugins. You can have extra capability added to the particular broadcast by using some of these built-in tools, and then you add that extra stuff, like when we recently were at a thing called South by Southwest in Austin, where we had people in the film strip from literally all over the world helping run a show, and I was the remote camera, and I was interviewing people on the street. So we literally turned it into our own TV broadcast network for free.
Internet speed. What are you using for?
So it's a great question from Doug Moore here, by the way. What was the internet speed, or what was the video quality, basically, when you were doing that, Ronnie?
When we were on the streets, was the question?
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges right now, meaning the quality isn't quite as crisp and clean as you will have when you're wired. So you're using, but what we were using was 4G, and the 4G network is pretty good, the 4G LTE thing. When you go down to a 3G or you're using Wi-Fi with your cell phone or your tablet, it's going to be a lot chunkier. But overall, I would say it was acceptable. You just don't want to have a lot of fast motion. But overall, the sound quality worked fine, and the visible speed seemed to be okay. I mean, some of the people in the room right there were watching this and actually, I think, participating, so maybe they could give you some feedback as well.
Anybody have any feedback that watched the mobile?
I thought it looked like perfect.
Yeah.
It looked like he was right there. Everything worked great. I think maybe there's one hiccup one time, I think, in quality of sound, but otherwise, everybody looked marvelous.
Marvelous?
Marvelous.
Excellent. Yeah, so I, earlier today on the Digital Marketing Answer Show, Mark and I were on, and the power went out. The second time it's happened in this building. And what I ended up doing is I have, it effectively is like just putting a hotspot on it and running it through my phone. I did it a little differently. I have a little 4G Verizon stick that does the same thing. And we ran the show over that, and the video quality wasn't quite as good, but we were able to continue the show.
The show must go on.
We do 2 hours of shows here a week, right? Obviously, you guest on some other shows, but
yeah,
we do like 2 hours out of all the hours in a week. The 2 times that there's been a blackout in this building have both been during one of our shows.
It must have to do with the quality of the content is so stunning that the network can't handle it.
It's shockingly stunning.
Shockingly stunning, yes. But it actually worked reasonably well, and it actually brings up a little tidbit. What happened is the show dropped out on us. I mean, it just completely dropped, and we were hosting the show, and you can recover. And Ronnie, correct me if this has changed, but as long as you get back in within 5 minutes, you can continue the show.
That's correct.
If it takes longer than 5 minutes, you lose the show,
Right.
and you're tubed basically.
You're toast. Yes.
Toast. So excellent.
I'm just adding a few sound effects just for the fun of it because I can. Yeah.
And by the way, the Google effects wouldn't work for us because there's too many faces in the room. I tried it.
Okay.
Register, but it doesn't know who to.
But it's kind of neat when you do have multiple people. You can put a hat on and then hit it. Do your head like that. It'll jump over to someone else's face. So Mark, I think, is going to try that. It looks like maybe glasses. Glasses are good to put on somebody, and then you can pass them around the room, maybe.
Yeah.
But you might be far enough away that it can't see all that. So here we are. We're talking all the nerdy stuff. But remember, this broadcast network that you have for free, not only can be publicly broadcast, but you could use it if you had a business that had multiple locations. You could do a private broadcast so that basically you could communicate what you need to for this week's meeting or this month's gathering and let that be seen by everybody literally all over the world for free and make that into a recording. That is then available for the team members to see that maybe weren't able to be there live. So, and also, again, the ability to ask questions live. The interactive part of this is pretty amazing because of the ability people could be typing text. If they're not in a room like you guys are, they could be online typing text with their phone, with their computer, and we can bring those questions right into the conversation, which is pretty amazing to me.
Yeah, and in this case, why does that look backwards? Is it backwards for you?
No, it's not. This is from Peter.
Oh, it fixed itself. It initially went backwards up on the screen. All right, so we've got somebody from the UK here, so that's determination. Peter, I think you're going to get the prize for staying up latest to watch us. Thanks for being with us.
Peter, you need to start the Old England Google Plus Meetup, and we won't sue.
Yeah, very good, Mark. Very good. I like that. And actually, I can say Peter gets the prize for being with us this morning, because it is this morning for him.
Yeah, and that was you guys are in New England, which is why the old was referenced there. But here's a comment from YouTube, just so everybody knows you can bring them from various places. This is Leila saying that love the folks using their phones that take videos of the HOA. So you guys are taking pictures or videos of the video coming at you, so it's getting pretty meta here.
Yes, indeed. Well, actually, when Mark and I were at the Digital Marketing for Business conference last week, we did a joint video photo bomb of Wade Harmon's HOA. So we did a video bomb, but we had people taking pictures of us. So.
Now, for those that have not seen this Hangout on Air stuff in action, there's something else you can do. So, Eric, why don't you talk for a minute while I load up a screen share?
Okay, and I'm supposed to talk about something random? No, so let me, oh, well, you've already loaded up the screen share, so let me blue box you here.
Well,
I'm
pretty fast at it. Now, the fact is, because I grew up in the Boston area, I do know how to speak Bostonian. And this is a funny one. I lost my khakis. That means khakis. That's khakis.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So another comment here. This is from Bruce McCallum. You can listen on YouTube as commuting, and what he's essentially doing is he's treating it like a podcast, right?
Yep.
Because Bruce, you better not be looking at it while you're commuting. In some states, that's illegal.
Yeah, some states.
Miss seeing Ronnie wearing his tiara, which is his trademark for all of his hangouts. Is that you, Ronnie, that has the tiara on?
No, that would be Mia Voss.
Oh, I get you two confused.
Yeah, I can see how that would happen.
Yeah, you're both in Colorado.
Yes, we are both in Colorado. That's the connection right there.
So does anybody out here want to talk about their experience using Hangouts? Anybody want to offer any comments? Stefan? Andy?
Yeah.
Charlotte?
Yeah, I've been trying to use them for an organization that I'm now co-president of, the Independent Publishers of New England. And we're encountering a lot of disconnect on the technology. People being able to participate or being willing to invest in it. And I'd just be interested in any tips about slowly integrating people in so that they see what can be done and make the investment in a free system. But it's an investment of time.
Right. I mean, did you hear the question okay, Ronnie?
I did. Let me give a quick tip, and then you can chime in as well, Eric, if you have other ideas.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
One of the things that I highly suggest when people are trying to learn how to use the Hangout tool is to go through a multi-step process. First one is just go in on your own and just poke around. Try to break it. Try to poke the button, see what will cause things to work or not work, and then invite a friend. Now, none of this is broadcast. This is just between you and them. You're having a Hangout. You're just in a video room. Once you've done that a little bit, you start to become more comfortable and literally play with the tools. Put the silly hats on, because that takes away your focus on all the other things and you start to just play. Once you've done that, you get a little more comfortable. Then I would encourage people to start watching other people's Hangouts on Air, or the HOAs, and start commenting, and eventually get invited to be in the film strip where you're a member visually on screen. You don't even need to do anything except be in the show. Then you're more comfortable, you're seeing what's going on. Then you go to the place where you actually look at running your own Hangouts on Air. And the biggest tip I can give now is it's possible to run your own HOAs that are unlisted, which means you're doing the broadcast. It's like a real dry run, a dress rehearsal, and you end up with a video that you can critique and look at later, decide whether you've done this efficiently or not, and whether the things you want to change. Then you do your public broadcast. So it's a ramping up process but you get used to it, you get comfortable, and it then becomes almost addictive, in my opinion.
Can I add to that? I think too, if you have a group of people who you want hopping on the
Yeah,
HOA.
that's more the problem.
Yeah, Ronnie has a wonderful video called "How to Be a Great HOA Guest,"
Yeah,
and that if you just send that to them and have them just quickly look through that, that will help them.
that's a good one. It's kind of more basic than that. They don't
Technology
have to, they don't
challenges.
have to plug in. They don't want to get the plug in, or they try it and it doesn't work. And they fail.
I have a, I'm going to talk that way so they can hear me out there, but, so the challenge that Charlotte is facing is that people aren't pushing through the hassle of getting the plug-in installed and making sure they, can get on. And I think, having spoken at the IPNE conference about a month ago, a lot of good, smart people, but some of them are a little older, so there's like probably a little more technology resistance. Is that fair?
And some just
But the best solution I can offer you for that, other than going around and hand walking them all through it, is get a killer speaker.
yeah,
Push them through that resistance.
yeah, right.
Where, oh, I don't care how hard it is. Okay, we got a good share here from, okay, there we go, wicked smart.
Get a good speaker who's wicked smart. Get the attention there, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the best tool you have, because if they've got resistance,
Maybe Eric Enga would come.
well, I'm more than happy to do that for you. I'm sure Mark would be willing to do that too. Steph and back there, don't worry, it only involves a hike. Well, never mind, we won't get into details.
Well, I got an idea or a question. If you can sell them on the value that they'll end up with, that might help them push through some of the roadblocks. For example, the idea that they'll end up with a video without having to pay somebody to make it. They've already got it. And then they can potentially pay somebody to slice that up into smaller, more digestible pieces. That's something that most of these platforms that are competing to this kind of video broadcasting just doesn't have, because they don't own YouTube. Google does, and so they just slam the two together. You end up with a massively valuable YouTube video by the time you're done, hopefully, or at least parts of it, right? So if you give it, and then the idea that Google Google is the world's #1 search engine, and then YouTube is the second by many people's estimations. Search engine optimization is involved automatically with the things that you do. So those are some of the salient points to mention to them if they're at all technically interested. If not, they just want to be in a video thing. Here's what I also then go with the video thing is I say, look, you can build relationships with people much more efficiently, much more effortlessly by seeing the whites of their eyes. I mean, here we are, Boston, don't shoot till you see the whites of their eyes. I'm bringing in all these puns, but the bottom line is when you get to see somebody face to face, it's a lot easier to build a relationship, a lot easier to grow, and that relationship isn't just one-on-one maybe, but it allows the outsiders to see the face of the organization that's trying to communicate with them, and then it starts to humanize them, and I think people have a better chance of deciding they want to relate to you because they got to know you a little bit.
Ronnie, you and I have known each other since the earliest days of Google+, and we have never met in person, right?
Yeah, but I think I see you as one of my best friends, actually.
I was going to say the same thing, and it's really true. And people, it's not.
This is an awe moment. Oh.
You should be saying, It's like, we're doing that. Hashtag bromance. But seriously, the thing about it is, I know you experience this as well.
Now, wait, before you talk too much, Mark, can you move a little closer? Because the top of your head is literally chopped off here.
Oh, okay. Some people would consider that an improvement. Another in the crowd.
Yeah.
But, seriously, that people who hang out a lot, hi, welcome, that's my buddy. People who hang out a lot together really have that kind of sense, that feeling. Like it's not like weird internet friends or chat room friends, but
right.
seriously, we know each other as well, I think, as I know any of my friends in real life. So that, that value is not to be underestimated. I always like to tell the story about, David Amerlin, who lives half the year in Greece, half the year in England. He and I got to know each other so well through Hangouts. Finally, he came over to New York to a conference that I was at. The moment we walked up to each other, it was just a continuation of the same conversation. There was no like, oh my gosh, I'm finally meeting David Amerlin. There's not even that feeling because we knew each other from these Hangouts.
Well, and the truth of the matter is that when they walk up to each other, they see eye to eye without one of them having to look up or down. So that really helped them a lot too.
But I'll give another brief story with that. There's the community manager for all of Google+, which is a massive network. Her and I met for the first time ever at South by Southwest, but we hugged because we had been in multiple Hangouts prior, and we knew each other. So the ability to create a relationship is really, really amplified by this particular tool. So if the organization that you're trying to help understand how to use the tool sees value in relationships, it's relatively simple to keep pushing on that relationship thing and let the technology sort of eventually get out of the way.
Just going to show them this video.
Yeah, so, yeah, and I think, we can get into the dynamics of that, right? It's just, you get to see somebody's facial, gestures or whatever, whether they talk with their hands a lot, right, exactly.
The north end of Boston.
Yeah, but they couldn't see that, so I had to make noise so they can see me doing that. Now they can see
there
it.
you go. How about that? So, you can see, you get to learn a lot more about them, right? Seeing someone smile makes a big difference, right?
Now, I've also mentioned that when you're in a Hangout with somebody, even if it's just happening once or twice and you're done, from then on, when you see the text that they write, it has a different feel because you know the person behind it. And this sounds a little odd if you've never experienced it, but it's true. It really is real, and I can tell by the nodding of the heads in the other room that others are agreeing with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
How many people here have been in a Hangout at all? And how many of those have been Hangouts on air at any time? Quite a number of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, one of the reasons, by the way, why we have this monitor on the wall is normally there's tables, through this room, and we use it as a meeting room, a lunch room, that kind of stuff. But on Tuesdays at 4 o'clock, we have we call it a training call, but it's effectively a staff meeting. Starting next Tuesday, they're going to be done as Hangouts.
But we should note that about half of our staff here, would you say is
remote?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and a half are here. So the half that are here will be engaging with the other half, which are, who knows where. Right.
And speaking of who knows where, this is again from Peter from the UK. He's saying thanks for the shout out to the UK. It's 12:50 a.m. here. Worth it to see the premiere of the top of Eric's head.
Never before revealed.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh
No,
my
but
goodness, I thought there was hair on that head.
Let me explain what I just did there. I just brought someone who is not in the video film area. I brought his comment and his capability to communicate right into the show live, and that allows you to build a fan base that is not just a regular fan base, but they're a raving fan base. They're going to start telling everybody, look at this, I was part of that show, it was really cool, and then they tell more people. So this is a lot of the way in how you start to spread your message and get more people to echo that message. So there's a lot of the value here with this interaction, I think, that really is not seen or understood fully until you start to play with it.
Ronnie, I know you've experienced this as well as we have, that when you do a regular show, you start to get regular fans who show up live for the show in the event, especially the ones who come into the event on Google+. A little community starts to build around your show. These people actually get to know each other. They get to look forward to seeing each other in the chat. We've had people in our digital marketing answers show. We've got several people who are also, very knowledgeable people who come in and help other people with their questions. And we've been told that a lot of people started following each other just because they knew each other from being in the show. So that's a great point you bring up, that it's not just the engagement that happens between the people actually in the video hangout, but the larger audience that can participate through the live comments.
Right,
And what it does is it creates this environment where people want to be participating live.
Right. And it's also a phenomenal place for networking, because even if you aren't necessarily participating live, you can come back and look at what happened, watch all those comments, and identify out of the people that are leaving comments which are the ones that you might want to start to interact with and eventually add to your circling groups so that you can start to follow what they're doing. And so even though you've never necessarily been inside that film strip, you still can actively participate with these live shows. And because they're not, you don't have to just be there live, you can look at it later on, you can start to get a feel for it and decide whether you want to change your schedule so you can show up live. Because there is something special, I think, about being there live, but you still can interact after the fact as well, which is pretty neat.
Yes, indeed. So we have a long comment from Susan Walsh. Wish I was there. Have a beer for me. Oh, hang on. And then I've listened to the HOA many times as I'm working. We use video hangouts for internal business meeting and training clients. These are hangouts, not hangouts on air at the moment, using screen sharing and more. Most recently, I trained Franco from Monza, Italy. How are others using hangouts is her first question. Interesting that she mentioned screen share, because it's worth, I'll just pop one of these in here just so people can see that, what that looks like. So that's a screen share at the moment of the New England Google Plus Meetup page. So you can pop things off of your desktop in here, which is kind of neat. But you want to mention some other uses of Hangouts?
Well, sure. One thing I do frequently.
While I get a beer, hang on.
Okay. Well, what I do frequently, sure. Oh, I saw a little halo show up there. Was that you, Mark? You did the halo?
Halo on me? That's never happened.
No.
There's a halo.
It's sort of over there. Anyways, I do a lot of consulting with Hangouts.
Doesn't seem to want to settle over anybody in this room.
It's just sort of floating there, yeah. I do a lot of consulting where I meet with clients one-on-one or in small groups, and we do coaching. Now, I happen to, because this is my primary area, I train them how to use Hangouts, or I train them how to use Google Plus efficiently. But the point is, any business that does communication or tries to educate someone how to use a product or use a tool has a wonderful opportunity, because there are no geographical boundaries. You just turn on the camera and you can be meeting with somebody anywhere in the world. And so that, again, if you use all the bells and whistles, you can turn it into a video, which I'm about to do some training for a membership group I've got that shows people how to be a coach using the tool Hangouts on Air to make private recordings of your sessions. And then when you're done, not only did they get valuable information during the consultation, but then you can give them a video of that so they can rewatch it over and over again and fully absorb it. And I use that as a sales technique. Because I tell people, look, I'm going to meet with you, we're going to train you on this. You don't have to worry about writing down all the notes, because you're going to slow things down. We can just cover a load more information, and then you just watch the video again and pause it, stop it, rewind it, and then you can get as much out of it as you can in a short period of time, because it's very, very efficient that way. So to me, it's not a public broadcast, but it's a wonderful tool for doing consultations and coaching.
Yeah.
Do people worry about confidentiality or information leaking out if you're having a private consult with someone? Do they not trust the technology?
Yeah. The question, I'll just repeat it because it wasn't that easy to hear. Are people concerned about the privacy elements of a Hangout on Air, for example, a private Hangout on Air? And the people that I work with, no. And I imagine there's plenty that do worry about it, and they will never use it. So bottom line is, I've been assured enough by the Google people that they don't monitor this stuff, And I actually, when I do my sessions, I don't even make it visible to the client. Your compressor must have turned on again because we're getting that echo. But the broadcast, when I'm doing it, it's actually just being a recording. I just let it be a recording. I don't even let the client see it while we're doing the show live. And only when I say show, I'm sorry, we're doing the training session live. And when I'm done, the recording is there. Then I give them, in essence, permissions to watch the video. And depending on your way of running business, you could do that basically and say, once I get payment, you get video, right? You know, that there's different ways to deal with how you present it. But I have not yet run into real problems with people worrying about people spying, even the people at Google spying on your content. In fact, I got a technical legal disclaimer early on when I was trying to help a client who is a lawyer, and they did a thing called lawyer cams, and we got a little statement from them that I could get for people here if they want to see it later, from Google saying that they do not monitor what's going on and it's secure.
Yeah, they would of course have to make it that way. First, I have to say thanks, Susan. I appreciate that. So I'm all set with the beer. But her next question was she's planning to do a series called Let's Talk, but she wants to know if there's a list somewhere for the steps needed to take for an HOA. Everybody here, or several of the people here, watched me kind of run through it really quickly while we were getting set for this show. But you know, let me back up and do my usual gratuitous Ronnie Bincer plug. See, it's disturbing. Oops! Wow, I lost the camera. How'd that happen? It disturbs Ronnie greatly when I do this, but he has to put up with it.
I can put up with it. It's okay. Feel free.
Yeah. Okay. So when I decided that I wanted to start doing Hangouts on air, in typical Eric Henga fashion, I went to the marketing manager we had here and said, I wanted to do some Hangouts on air. And he says, oh, sure, we'll begin working on that. We'll have something up in a month. And I said, no, I want to do 2 a week, and I want to start them next week. And he immediately looked at me like I had 3 heads. After some conversation, we settled for getting 1 going to next week. But when you're doing a Hangout, the process of being a host is a creative task. It's a burden of sorts, right? And there are a lot of mechanical details, so you don't want to get lost in the mechanical details you know, when you're first trying to learn this stuff. That's one of the reasons why you advised all the practice type stuff that you did earlier, Ronnie. But the other thing to do, and this is what we did here, is we got Ronnie to help us. And he acted as the show producer for the first few, which allowed me to concentrate just on, okay, you know, what the hell do I do as a host? And try to make that part work. But having said that, I don't know if you have a published list of the steps, Ronnie, that you can share, or we can just sort of laundry list some of the major steps.
Well, I can laundry list some of it here. I have plenty of public videos that, for example, give you best practices for setting up a Hangout on Air, and I can link that into the event and let people go watch that. So, but that's not a written list. I do have a written list in the membership group that I run called Hangout Mastery, where people can go, and it's got all the different potential steps you might want to take to do that. But the bottom line is, you start out by creating, well, there's so many ways to start. So I guess an easy way.
Let's Hangout on Air event. Let's just make.
All right. Let's just keep it to a Hangout on Air event. There's a tool on the left side of your Google Plus environment called Hangouts. There's a menu. You choose that menu. You click a blue button that says Start Hangout on Air, and that's going to build what's actually called a Hangout on Air event. You then give it a title. You say a little bit about what's going on. I'm doing this all from memory, so hopefully we'll just do it quick enough. And then you invite the public, because you really, really, really need to make sure that the public is invited during your very first invitation. Otherwise, you might as well just start over again. So you've got to invite the public as the viewing audience. They are not invited into the film strip. They're just invited to view from the outside. That creates what's called a Hangout on Air event. Technically, it's a scheduled Hangout on Air event, because you can say, I want this to start a week from now at this date and this particular start time and end time. And that's what builds what I call a landing page or an event page. It automatically has built into it a little video holder that will become the live broadcast. And the time that your show is ready to start, I'm jumping around just for the speed here. By the time the show is ready to start, you, the host, no, I shouldn't jump around? Oh, yeah, it's okay. You, the host, need to go in and press a button that says start. I can't hear you, Eric, in case you're talking to me because you're muted. You press a button that says start, and that will then turn on. Oh, there you go. All right, I'll back up. This right here is the beginnings of starting your own Hangout on Air event, the scheduled Hangout on Air event tool. So that's what it looks like. That green circle is allowing you to add in the public down in the very bottom. The very top, which is where someone is about to type, is where you put the title of your video. And below it is where you put your description text. It tells people why they want to come and watch. You have below that the ability to choose the date, the time, and who the viewing audience is supposed to be, and that's where that green circle for public is. And then you would press the share button, but I don't think you want to do that right now because you'll make a new event. But you could always delete it.
Well, no, that's fine. I'm going to leave it there. I just wanted to show that first step, I think.
Okay. So then once you've created that first step, it actually builds a thing called an event, and let's say it's time for the show. Okay, this is the promotional side. It's already done. You've got hundreds of people just banging down the door to try to come in and watch. You then go as the host and press another blue button that says start, and again, it doesn't mean start, it just means start the process, and that brings you into what we call the green room. And the green room is where you get to meet with your other show people, meaning the people in the film strip, and discuss what you're going to be doing to set up the room, set up the environment, put on these things down in the bottom like a lower third, bring in the special tools that you want to use, and then when it's time, you go ahead and hit the Start Broadcast button. And that Start Broadcast button is what actually turns on the show. And then everybody that's on that event page is able to watch it live. It's just like the TV got turned on, and they can watch the show and add comments to it, and now you're off and running. And when you're done with your broadcast, you use a button that says End Broadcast, and then you have a video. And that's how it goes.
I'm sorry, did you want me to press stop broadcast now?
You can if you want. But if you do that, that means you and I and the rest of the people, all of you, by the way, have been in the green room, in that room in Framingham, and because you were part of this when we were talking about it before we ever hit the Start Broadcast button. And so there's a lot to this with various steps, but that sort of gives you the overview. And as I mentioned before, I've got some videos that'll teach you the best practices to do the very same thing we were just talking about.
Yeah, so we have a question from James Munafo. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. At least one of those times I must be. Been waiting for an hour and a half to see you in front of a coming soon. I clicked on. Didn't know how to click below countdown. Why are you watching from the balcony? Okay, I guess we're not really watching from the balcony. We just have a monitor mounted high on the wall above us, because it's the only way to get everybody in the whole room in the picture all at once.
Yeah. There should not be problems with the starting soon, but this is still beta, I guess, is one way to say it. And I've heard a little bit, because I get to hear these things, that some people were having difficulties today with that specific thing. So it's not a normal occurrence, and I think all I can say is normally, when you inside the video room hit the Start Broadcast button, within about 30 seconds, the video starts to play for the people that are watching from the outside. And if the starting soon seems to be there too long as a viewer, I'd highly suggest you just refresh your page. And that should then show up the video, and you might hit the play arrow, and then it should start playing.
Yeah, so we have a question from Debbie Davis, who, Ronnie, you and I were chatting with up till 10:45 Eastern Time last night.
Yep, it was Debbie's birthday. Happy birthday yesterday, Debbie.
No, happy birthday indeed. You didn't tell me that yesterday.
Sorry.
So could this be a way for you to speak to her networking group in Centennial?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the point is, you could have conventions. You can have conferences where you've got a hybrid potentially. I suggest the hybrid because I think being totally digital is a little bit too much of a stretch for many people right now. But you could have 5 people sitting on the stage and 2 more in on the big screen behind them that are literally from anywhere in the world that can be part of a conversation that is discussing whatever the topic is that they normally discuss in that particular event.
Talk about musicians, having live music happening in a hangout.
Yeah, you can have live music. There are people, Daria Musk is one of the big names that you possibly have heard of, who basically built her career on what Hangouts on Air can do. She's now traveling literally all over the world, performing concerts, bringing her people with her, because she brings a film strip right onto the screen that's at the big event where she's playing her concerts. This is a very valid way to make a living doing business in this environment.
What's amazing, the Daria Musk story is, I remember I was there at the beginning of it. I tuned in one night just randomly. She started this and made her name begin before there were Hangouts on Air. Back as Ronnie well knows, originally there were only private Hangouts or public Hangouts, but not the broadcast Hangouts. You could only therefore ever have up to 9 other people in the Hangout. She started doing these living room concerts, and what she do is people would just hop in and out, and you just keep trying to get in, and word was spreading about it, and it got so popular, people trying desperately to get into the film strip to watch her perform, that Google gave her some of the Hangout Air technology before it was released to the general public, and she blew up from there to the point where she eventually got a real-world recording contract and now performs in arenas around the world.
Right. Now, one thing that may not be known by many people is this tool that we're using, the Hangout tool, was made by Google for Google. They literally have offices all over the world, and it was an efficient way for them to have meetings without having to travel a lot. So they made this tool to allow the internal teams to meet with each other on a regular basis, and the recording of it wasn't something that they initially had in mind. So this idea that Daria Musk was asking for and others were asking for the broadcast capability, they added that, and that's what we have today. So the tool is being modified based on the uses of it. The people that use it drive the way that's being developed, which is another rather awesome feature in the way this thing works.
Awesome indeed. So what did I do? There we go. Questions?
Yeah, do people need to be logged into Google to see the public broadcast? Like, can you share the public broadcast live as it's happening to people who are not logged into Google?
They just need to be able to get to YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah. So the answer is, do you have to be logged into a Google account in order to watch the video live? And the answer is no. It's just a YouTube video. That can be what's called a video embed on your website, or it could be wherever you potentially can put a live video embed. It then automatically becomes a recorded video in that same spot, so you don't have to change any of the code later on. And no, you do not need to have a Google account to watch it, but you do need to have a Google account to be inside the video room. You also need to have a Google account to be able to interact with extra comments that are visible inside either YouTube or Google+. But as far as just watching the show live, anybody in the world that has access to YouTube can watch the live show.
When we do our shows each week, as soon as Eric puts out the YouTube video link, I put that right out on Twitter, because people, again, don't ever use Google+, don't have a Google+ account. They go on Twitter, they go on Facebook, they follow that link, they go to the YouTube. Anybody can watch on YouTube, and you're actually watching the live show right there on YouTube as it's being broadcast through Google+.
So I'm actually showing an embedded video from the ipni.org site of an interview that was done with me. So that's an example of embedding the video for getting on a website right there.
Right. Now there's a gentleman named Paul who's coming in a little late, but it bears repeating. His question is, can these events be archived to view later and share So where are they archived to the retrieve? In essence, they just end up showing up where they were streaming live. It turns into a video. Nothing needs to change code-wise. It'll just automatically become a video. So it is archived for you automatically.
And that's on the YouTube channel of whoever initiated the Hangout on Air.
Right. Now, many people, or some people, will take that video from the YouTube channel, download it, and then fancy it up or chop it up into smaller pieces and make little, what I call nuggets out of it that'll allow you to get to certain points quicker and more efficiently, because sometimes it may take you a long time during a conversation to get to that really, really valuable 3 minutes. You can slice that 3 minutes into its own little video, and then you've got lots of different nuggets that you could turn your Hangouts on Air into. And from a content creation tool perspective, it's incredibly valuable.
Absolutely. Anybody else here want to share their experience with Hangouts on Air?
Are you looking at me?
I'm looking at you.
Sure.
Speak out so they can hear you
No
now.
problem. So I have a show called Google Plus Business Spotlight every Wednesday. It's all about how real businesses use Google Plus. We got a couple people, Lisa, my wife, we had Charlotte, Bill Gassett over here, have all been on it, which is cool. And yeah, so far that's it. So got a little alumni here, but yeah. So what we do, we build almost an entire brand around it, where we have an email list, a website, the dedicated YouTube channel, and then we just treat it like a television station. And so it gives us a blog post out about it, the event page, try and use Twitter with a hashtag to encourage people to become a part of the show, or at least get the word out about the show, because of the fact that it exists on YouTube after the fact. I don't care so much, I love that people come to the live event, and we're building that out, more and more, but the fact that we can bring people to a YouTube video or to a blog post, it's more familiar to them. And so for those of you guys just getting started in this idea, look to the replay as something that, maybe you do a little bit more heavy promotion on, and little by little you just introduce those people to the live event, again, using things like Twitter especially, because that has definitely helped us, having a hashtag. We put a little click to tweet things like, hey, those of you guys watching live, do me a favor, hit this button and literally tweet it out that you're watching the show, link back to the event page, and just bring people over to the experience so that they can see what's going on live. But even if they don't, there's so much content, like Ronnie's been saying, that you can create around the event and around the YouTube video, and thank the audience, and just pull all that stuff up. So that's how I've done it. If you want to watch tomorrow, Wednesday, 12:30 Eastern, we're having T-Mobile, which would be really cool, because they've got some really interesting stuff to tell us. But you'll get to see how that all works if you're interested.
So call it YouTube instead of Hangout at first, if people aren't familiar.
Yeah, just call them YouTube videos or blog posts, or
Live YouTube video streaming or something.
Yeah, many times people are getting some people are getting hung up with the technology or the terminology, and so just calling it a live broadcast, good enough. You don't have to tell them or focus on the fact that it's a Hangout on Air. It's just a live broadcast on the internet.
Yep.
So, question from Doug Moore here is about whether or not you can edit the videos after the fact. Actually, Mark, you did that today to our show.
Yeah, I did. There's a YouTube editor. It's not real sophisticated, but it was enough that we had, as Eric said earlier, we had a power failure during our show today. It meant that on the video, there was 4 minutes of dead air. So I was able to go into the YouTube editor, clip out that 4 minutes, fuse it together, put in a little fancy transition thing. So now the video is going to be seamless. Now that's a new video. It's not the original, but that's probably the one that we'll leave up and optimize for search and things like that, so people can find. So later people that come to see it won't have that 4 minute lag in there. But you can also, there's software you can get that you can download a YouTube video and use more sophisticated editing software and then upload what the results again.
Yeah, and only 2 people commented that you took out the best part of the show. Okay, so I want to actually show one other thing too, which is another thing that we do is that we created an archive page for the videos. This is for the Digital Marketing Excellence Show. We have a separate one for the Digital Marketing Answers Show. But this is all the events that we've ever done. We could probably make it prettier, but you know, here it is. You know, date, the guests, link to the video, and link to the event, so that people can actually jump into the discussion that took place.
And we also have the most recent one embedded at the top.
Yeah, and that's right. So, and for that matter, the fact that we do this and have this on a web page like this is an embedded link that if we want to share this to Twitter or Facebook or some other environment, and the people don't want to go to Google Plus because they've got phobia, they can come here and watch it here, right? Yeah. So we can still get the viewers to the show. Everybody, I think I just started it. Okay, so sorry for the crosstalk there, Ronnie, but
in 2 seconds, Buston was a guest on this hangout.
Yes, he was. So
yes.
It's one of Stefan Hovnanian's cronies there that we had on the show. So, Ronnie, we're down to just 4 minutes left in the show, so we ought to wrap this thing up, I think. How do you want to, you know, what kind of closing thoughts do you want to give us?
Well, the closing thoughts that I would have is I would love to help people learn how to use the Hangout tool. I think it's a phenomenal tool. I'm good at training, but whether you come to me or not, find somebody to help you learn how to use the tool so you're not focused on the technology. Because when you're not focused on the technology, your message, the thing you really want to communicate, can come through. If you do get stuck with the technology, you're just going to be another nerd online trying to figure out how to make this thing work, and people are not really going to pay attention to the message that you really want to get across. So find a way to learn how to get rid of the technology so it disappears, and then you'll become much more comfortable communicating your message, and that's going to give you the best bang for your buck.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely true. And just for fun, I'm going to tell my favorite Hangout on Air screw-up story. You were there, Ronnie. Actually, it's like I had some panel of people, and you know, one of the things you learn along the way is that when you blue box somebody, it forces them to the front of the screen, even if noise is coming from someone else. That's what I've done just now. But I had this show where I had this great panel, and I had blue boxed a guy called David Harry, and David was sitting there. He was like this on his couch. He had a cigarette in his hand, and I blue boxed him, and I'm doing the intro to the show. It's like, hi, this is the Digital Marketing Excellence Show. And there's David Harry back here. It's like he's getting high, you know. And it's like, okay, this is not working. And I didn't realize it until I was done with the whole intro because I was so in the mode of, you know, doing my thing, right? So you remember that, don't you?
I do. You don't have the opportunity, unfortunately, to say, I don't want that camera, I want the other one after the fact. It's too late by then.
Right, but that's where it gets back to practice. Lots of practice is really good, and it's really good to get help. But if you're not going to do that, then just do enough practice to the point where you get really good at it, so that you can focus on being, you know, doing your show. And you know, you make the mechanics go away. I mean, I have a lousy mouse situation here, but I'm hopping around doing things that might require a lot of thought of me, you know, to do 8 months ago. And it's just comfortable. You get used to it after a while, but until you get used to it, you gotta.
Yeah, and remember, we now have a new option that we can do this unlisted broadcast, which is really, really valuable because you can practice and see what it looks like. And if you have enough other people that are willing to practice with you, you start running multiple shows. Nobody ever gets to see it except those that you want to share it with, and then you can refine and eventually get it to the point where it's really just what you want. Then you go public with it. Very, very valuable option.
Where do you set it up for unlisted? How do you do that ahead of time?
To do the unlisted, see, we go right into the tech again, don't we? I'm sorry. To do that, you start your Hangout on Air event, just like we showed the other one, but instead of adding the public circle, you do not add the public circle, and you just basically invite yourself or a couple other friends, and that's it. And then it becomes an unlisted broadcast.
Nice use for that is interviews you're going to use later, like if you're not focused obviously on the live event. So you can do your Hangout on Air as an interview, and then rip the audio, turn it into a podcast, bring the video down, edit it out, you know, put your little intro, outro stuff, make it pretty, and then you can go forward with the blog post, you know, 2 weeks later, a week later, whatever. But it's a great way to get both audio and video content that you could just, you know, you could bang 4 or 5 of them out a day, right? And, you know, just schedule a whole bunch of them, schedule them all private, spend all day in front of your webcam, and get a ton of content for the next couple of months.
That's like for membership sites. So.
Eric,
Yeah.
ask Ronnie what the next big thing in Hangouts is.
Did you hear the question?
The next big thing in Hangouts, there's some really cool stuff coming that I can't really say, but let's put it this way. I've been saying this for a while, and I believe it's still the case, that the quality of Hangouts is going to improve not only in the tech, but also in the content, because more and more people start to get more comfortable using it. They start to use the better pieces of equipment. Like, for example, I've got decent lighting. If you don't have good lighting, you don't have good sound, no matter what the technology is able to do, it's not going to do all that well for you. So you start adding in some of the better quality to that. I think overall the shows will be improving in quality. And you're going to have to in order to stand out, because there's so much volume coming out with more and more people doing these Hangouts that I just think the quality is going to improve, and I hope that they continue to improve the mobile part, because I'm really spending a lot of time working with this mobile broadcasting capability, because I think that honestly brings the visibility of anything to anyone right there onto your screen. Really, really amazing.
Yeah, no, it's great. So, Ronnie, I know we can keep going. I sense we have a lot of questions here still. Do people still want to keep firing questions on Ronnie?
We could finish the broadcast and still do a couple more here if you wanted to make it.
Ronnie needs a beer, though. Can someone get Ronnie a beer, please?
Yeah, we need. Yeah, so Susan, you have to arrange Susan Walsh, that is. You have to arrange a beer for Ronnie.
A beer. Yeah.
So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the broadcast. Thank you for all our remote viewers. Really appreciate. Really appreciate. Say, let's cheer for our. Yay! All right, and then a cheer for Ronnie. Yay! Okay, so thanks a ton, Ronnie. We really appreciate your being here on the show. Thank you, everybody, for watching remotely. We're going to drop into the green room. Next show that we will be broadcasting from here will be Thursday. It is the Digital Marketing Excellence Show with AJ Cohn. When is SEO not SEO is the topic. Lord knows what we're going to talk about, but we'll make it up as we go along, as we always do. So, oh, it sounds so unscripted when I put it that way. Thanks, everybody. Hang on with us, Ronnie. We'll be right there.
You bet. Bye, everyone.